A Space Age Hack. I'm Jason Horton.
I'm Rebecca Lieb.
And this is Ghost Town.
In Space Watch, NASA is reportedly investigating what may be the first crime committed in space. The New York Times is reporting that astronaut Anne McClain accessed her estranged wife's bank account while on board the International Space Station. McClain's wife reportedly filed a complaint accusing her of identity theft. McClain has denied the allegations on Twitter. She wrote, "There's unequivocally no truth to these claims. We've been going through a painful personal separation that's now unfortunately in the media."
Summer Warden, a former Air Force intelligence officer, was having a hard year. The Kansas resident was in the middle of a bitter separation and litigious parenting battle with her estranged wife, Anne McClain, a decorated NASA astronaut. Their finances, like their relationship, had become fragile, another point of contention among a long list of heated grievances. Within their limited communication, Warden was specifically surprised when McClain seemed to know things about her spending, like the car she had recently bought. Suspicious, Warden put her intelligence background to work, asking her bank about the locations of computers that had recently accessed her accounts. The bank got back to her with a surprising answer. One point of access was registered to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration and was being utilized from space. This information literally made history, and while certainly not the beginning or end of the sensationalized version of Warden and McClain's relationship, it was the first allegation of criminal wrongdoing outside of planet Earth. It's ugly, but maybe not quite for the reasons that you think. Today on Ghost Town, we're talking about the first alleged space crime. Born on June 7, 1979 in Spokane, Washington, Anne McClain was an intelligent, athletic, and social kid who always dreamed of being an astronaut. After attending Gonzaga University, the young rugby player went to West Point Military Academy, earning a bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. In 2002, she was commissioned as an Army officer and then attended the University of Bath and the University of Bristol, where she earned a master's degree in aerospace engineering and international relations, respectively. Between school, military obligations, and construction projects in Uganda, McClain rose to be one of the highest-level rugby players in England, almost playing in the 2006 Women's Rugby Cup, which she couldn't participate in because she was deployed to Iraq. There, she flew 800 hours and 216 combat missions during the 15 months deployment as part of Operation Iraqi Freedom. McClain was high-achieving, to say the least, and already had done a lot in her young life. But her childhood dream would soon be on its way to being fulfilled, when in 2013 she began working as a test pilot for NASA. Her first job was wearing a sensor on her forehead, collecting data on how the circadian rhythm is affected by a long spaceflight. In June of 2013, the same month as her graduation as a test pilot, 34-year-old McClain was selected by NASA to be part of Astronaut Group 21, becoming the youngest astronaut on the NASA roster. She completed training in July of 2015, making her available for astronaut work. At this point, McClain's personal life would also make big strides. McClain fell in love and soon married Summer Warden in 2014, becoming a stepmother to Warden's 6-month-old son, Briggs. In Summer Warden, McClain found someone equally as intelligent and impressive. Born in 1975, Warden was an ROTC officer who graduated from University of Texas at San Antonio with a business and aerospace degree. She then earned her MBA at Rice University while completing a degree at the NSA Cryptologic School. Also earned degrees in strategic intelligence and digital forensics. Then Warden went on to work for the U.S. Air Force and intelligence community, leading a team for the National Security Administration with a specialization in leading access programs relating to nuclear security. In 2012, she founded her own technology and security service company called Philly Intelligence, a woman-owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. It's all very impressive, right? And kind of romantic. And things would be pretty good for McClain and Warden for the next couple of years. But then they weren't. In 2018, Warden was arrested for a physical altercation with McClain, and the two separated. That same year, McClain was chosen to complete her first ever space mission, flying with 2 other astronauts to the International Space Station as the latter half of Expedition 57, alongside Russian cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko and Canadian astronaut David Saint-Jacques. Eager to put the assault incident with Worden behind her before her career-changing 6-month mission, McClain dropped the charges prior to her December 2018 spaceflight. After her launch, McClain was thriving on her new mission. 4 months in, her co-pilot, Nick Hogue, performed in their first spacewalk. A spacewalk, also known as an extravehicular activity, EVA, is a broad term that applies to any time an astronaut exits a vehicle while in space. According to NASA, astronauts conduct spacewalks for a number of reasons: to carry out experiments in space, test new equipment, or to repair space materials. Hogue and McClain's spacewalk was no different, to install some machinery and to do some equipment maintenance, and it all went incredibly well. So much so that now that Expedition 57 had joined Expedition 56, a new historic operative formed, an all-female spacewalk. Helmed by astronauts Anne McClain from Expedition 57 and Christina Koch from Expedition 56, the two were assigned to install lithium-ion batteries on the International Space Station's solar panel. Press loved the idea of the 2 women from each team making feminist and astronautic history, but as soon as the incredible all-female spacewalk formed, it fell apart. McClain's spot was soon swapped for her former co-astronaut, Nick Hogue, as there were not enough spacesuits available to fit both women safely. You can read all about this all-women spacewalk that never was. It's both overhyped, disappointing, and kind of sad, considering a lot of its progressive intent by NASA was halted due to them not having appropriate gear. But other things were brewing while McClain was in space, and her ex, Summer Worden, was back on Earth. The two were in communication around their divorce, but the communication was tense, to say the least. Worden realized that McClain knew a lot about her finances, including a car she had just bought, and was using that as a means of negotiation during the financial piece of their split. That's when Worden, ever the intelligence officer, came to the conclusion that McClain was dipping into her information using a computer network registered to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. McClain acknowledged that she had accessed the bank account from space, insisting that she was merely managing the couple's finances, which were still very much intertwined. Quote, "She strenuously denies that she did anything improper," said McClain's lawyer, Rusty Hardin, who added that the astronaut is, quote, "totally cooperating." But Worden wasn't having it, and despite seeing no sign that anyone had moved or made use of the funds in the accounts, Worden filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission and with NASA's Office of Inspector General, accusing McClain of identity theft and improper access to private financial records. While there was no all-women spacewalk to speak of, the mission did make history for this reason: the first allegation of criminal wrongdoing in space. Worden said at the time, quote, "I was pretty appalled that she would go that far. I knew it was not okay." And it wouldn't be. More after the break.
Hi, hello, how are you doing?
Hello.
How are you?
Hello, hello.
How you be? Yeah, I'm on the level.
That's true. It's good. We like your slang?
Yeah,
like your
yeah,
slang?
yeah.
Okay.
It's, it's-
That's very hip.
you drop me in any situation, any demo, and I'm going to just assimilate.
Wow.
Yeah.
Chameleon in our midst.
Yes.
How would we know? You're so assimilated. I can't tell.
Well, right now I'm someone who loves to thank everyone for listening, supporting, spreading the good word of Ghost Town. We thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All of that. Appreciate.
Yes, we do.
And I just slip right into government talk. Look at
That's
that.
right. That's right. That's
How
very
easy.
good.
Easy transition.
Easy. Everything's easy over here.
What would we be without our government? The mayors.
Mm-hmm.
Helming the buttons and electronics on the USS Ghost Town in outer space, pressing all the buttons, turning the knobs,
Thanks for helming this part of our
going
ship.
knob crazy. That would be Matthew Clemens Larry.
Hello.
And just kicking it, just making sure the space bathrooms are up to code. And they are always, because it's outer space technology, so nothing
Yeah.
ever gets dirty. But it was an easy job, and somebody just wanted to kick back and listen to podcasts.
Yeah.
And read a book.
Cool.
Didn't want to do any heavy lifting. Just there for the easy breezy. That would be Kelly Meehan.
Hello.
And in the dangerous engine room, somebody who was like, I want to
Wow.
be face to face with disaster.
That's great.
From 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Wow.
2 15-minute breaks and a half-hour break.
But you get to leave the spaceship on the weekends. Which
No,
is nice.
no, you're still there.
Oh, okay.
That'd be Kat Joselle.
Hello.
And in charge of maps that go beep, beep, boop, boop, beep, 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 outer space maps.
You're a map man.
Boop, boop, boop,
or
boop,
or
boop,
woman.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, boop, boop. That'd be Ashley Matson.
Hello.
And in charge of the roof of the spaceship. The roof's important.
You're not wrong.
It's not, it's
what
not
part is the roof?
It's not a convertible. Okay? You can't just stick your head in and go, hey, outer space. Somebody's got to make sure that the roof stays the roof.
Wow. This is getting too technical.
Well,
for
no,
me.
because if there's like a takeover, they're going to come on the roof and they're going to come through that way and then start taking everybody.
Yeah, that's true. That's
we're not
good.
there, so I don't, we're
Yeah,
fine.
you got to secure that.
That'd be Emma Hopkins.
Hello.
And in charge of lasers,
Mm.
shoot 'em ups, bang, bang, pew, pew,
That's an exciting job.
Phaser set on stun.
Mm-hmm.
That would be Casey Weber and Charlie Gilbert.
Hello.
And the intergalactic overlord
Whoa.
that is on planet Taylor Swift.
Amazing.
Yeah, Taylor Swift has her own planet in this scenario.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She's funding a lot of these missions.
Sorry.
So she's our boss.
Just running things and has a super big brain. Like one of those.
Cool. You can see inside its
Yeah,
glass.
yeah.
Yeah.
Super
I know what
big
you're talking
brain. That would be our governor,
Avian Noble.
If you want no ads, no chit chat, bonus episode, 7 days free if you want to check it out. Come and go if you want to. Head on over to patreon.com/ghosttownpod. You want to go back?
Yeah,
blast off again?
Let's get back into space while you check that out. So the accusation of McLean's space fraud immediately generated a ton of media attention, not only as the first known space crime, but also by taking their story to the media, Worden had outed McLean, making her the first publicly out active astronaut and the third known lesbian astronaut after Sally Ride and Wendy B. Lawrence. After NASA reached out to McLean, she wrote an email to her ex. She said in the email, quote, "They specifically mentioned threatening emails from orbit and accessing bank accounts. Not sure where that info comes from." Days before McLean was to return from space, Worden's parents sent a lengthy letter to NASA's Office of Inspector General outlining what they described as McLean's, quote, "highly calculated and manipulative campaign to win custody of Worden's child." In the letter, they included the allegation of McLean's space hacking. Worden's mother, Beth, said, quote, "It seems like Anne McLean controls our life. We have to be home at 7 o'clock 3 nights a week so she can FaceTime with him." Briggs, Worden's son. "Well, that's the time that we're eating dinner, just getting home from soccer practice." While in space, McLean tried to get a gag order to seal the court fight, but it was denied. When McLean finally came back to Earth on June 24, 2019, she touched down not as a decorated astronaut, but as a woman under investigation. McLean submitted to an under-oath interview with the Inspector General, contending that she was merely doing what she had always done, with Worden's permission, to make sure the family's finances were in order. As the investigation continued, McLean made a public statement on her Twitter account. Quote, "There's unequivocally no truth to these claims. We've been going through a painful personal separation that's now unfortunately in the media. I appreciate the outpouring of support and will reserve comment until after the investigation. I have total confidence in the investigation's process." NASA said they do not publicly comment on personal matters, but praised McLean's work with NASA and in the military at the time. Said spokesperson Brandy Dean, quote, "Lieutenant Colonel Anne McLean has an accomplished military career, flew combat missions in Iraq, and is one of NASA's top astronauts. She did a great job on her most recent NASA mission aboard the International Space Station." As the investigation continued, cracks in Worden's story started surfacing. The main one was that McLean didn't really hack their accounts. Actually, the couple shared access to Worden's online accounts until at least January 31st, 2019. But Worden claimed she had opened a new account on September 2018 and reset her login information in order to prevent McLean from accessing them. However, the indictment alleges that she actually opened the account in April of 2018 and didn't change her login information until January of 2019. On Monday, April 6, 2020, a statement released by U.S. Attorney Ryan Patrick from the United States Attorney's Office stated that Worden had been formally indicted for making false claims on March 19, 2019 with the FTC, and later in an interview with NASA on July 22, 2019. The narrative had turned, absolving McLean and implicating Worden. If convicted, Worden faces up to 10 years in prison and a possible $250,000 maximum fine. She is still awaiting trial. Meanwhile, McLean lives in Houston and is an instructor astronaut for robotics, EVA, and Capcom, training others to go into space and expanding the U.S. space program. Though this episode is based on a historic and rather shocking first, Mark Sundahl, director of the Global Space Law Center at Cleveland State University, doesn't think it will be the last. Quote, "The more we go out there and spend time out there," said Sundahl, "all the things we do here are going to happen in space." Sundahl's statement makes sense, of course, but based on everything we talk about on this podcast, that's a pretty scary thought.